All right, y'all, I made a few mistakes when I was getting my commercial pilot certificate, so I'm just gonna be transparent and I really hope it helps you. So there's some mistakes I made in studying and then also in the check ride. So let's take studying first. First of all, I was using the King's Online Ground School for the commercial and I really liked it. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I've used their course and I found it quite good. I liked all of the videos. Their humor is quirky, but I kind of appreciate it and it keeps it a little more engaging. The problem was, a mistake I made, I was not taking notes during those videos. I was just answering the quizzes at the end and I didn't really have any sort of study guide to go back and review. And so if I wanted to review a topic, I had to go back and watch the entire video, which is a really, really impractical way to study. And so as I was studying for the written exam, anytime I missed questions on the practice writtens, I would go and add those questions or the topic or the thing that I missed into a document. And I took probably 20 practice tests. And so that kind of became my review document of the things that I seemed to be forgetting, but it would have been so much more efficient if just from the start, as I was watching each one of those videos, that I would be creating my own study guide. That would have helped a ton to do it from the start. One thing that was helpful was that I printed off some of the harder things to memorize, like the cloud clearance requirements for all your different airspaces and stuff, and I put them in places where I'd be forced to see them. So in my bathroom, for example, so that I had to look at it while I was getting ready in the mornings or brushing my teeth. So I think this works really great for any list or acronym type of stuff that you need to memorize. All right, the second mistake I made was not double dipping some of my previous training flights for commercial requirements. So in other words, there are several commercial requirements for flight experience that you can knock out during your private or your instrument training and get that out of the way so you don't have to repeat it. So I got some of those, but not all of them. Like for example, my dual night cross country that had to be more than 100 nautical miles. My night cross country solo, I had more than 100 nautical miles, but I didn't have those with an instructor. The longest one I had was like literally 94 miles. So I was really frustrated. That would have been really easy to knock out during my instrument rating or something, and I didn't do it. And so I had to repeat that flight just for the commercial requirements, which cost more time and money. So if you can, try to look ahead at what certificates and ratings you would like to try to get and double dip as much as you can along the way. The third mistake I made was my frame of mind while studying. So there's a lot to learn and memorize while getting your commercial or any other pilot's license for that matter. And so studying was a pretty stressful experience, honestly. So I wish that I would have taken a few moments in each study session to just try to look ahead and visualize how good it would feel once I got my license. Something to just alleviate the stress, even if it was for a moment. Now, I'm not like a will it into existence kind of guy, but I do think that just reminding yourself why you're doing this in the first place and reminding yourself that this is something that I can accomplish. This is doable. So even though this is stressful, let's just visualize how good that's gonna feel when they say, hey, you're now a commercial pilot. I do think that gives you a helpful boost even when you're in stressful study sessions. All right, so now for the check ride portion. One thing I learned in previous check rides was that the goal is not to remove all nervousness or fear going into the check ride. Yes, the more prepared you are, the more you'll feel confident, but I found that you can't totally do away with the nerves. I think regardless of how prepared you are, nerves will be present simply because it's something you care about. You have a vested interest in the outcome, and so it's natural to get some of that adrenaline pumping for it. So I went into it remembering that the goal is just to prepare as best you can and not have regrets about your preparation level. Also, something that my DPE liked that I did, so I want to share with you, was that I put page numbers on my logbook and then I wrote down the commercial requirements along with the page numbers on which I satisfied those requirements. So that way it was really easy to do a logbook audit and see clearly when and where everything was done. All right, but one thing I really regret on my check ride was letting my guard down when things were going well. So the oral went well, it was very conversational, it really brought my nerves down. And I think when my nerves came down, I also let my filter come down a little bit and I wasn't as laser focused on being hyper intentional about every single word that was coming out of my mouth. So once we got to the plane, I was a little more relaxed, my edge was kind of taken off, and as I was pre-flying the aircraft, my examiner asked, so what are our engine out options here if we lose our engine on takeoff? And kind of casually, I said, the options are not good, because Addison, where I'm based, that is true. It's notoriously bad for there being very, very few options, and there's really no good options at that. But I said it in kind of a casual way. It was like, hey, the options are not good. And she interrupted me and just looked me dead in the eye and said, "That's not an answer. What are our options?" And it really got my attention where I thought, man, I'm not really trying to like joke about this. This is a very serious question, but I didn't like my demeanor and the way I approached that. I think I was getting a little chummy, if you will, not on purpose. I was just, my nerve level was down and I was feeling okay. So I think I feel like I did this well in the multi commercial, which I also just passed, and I'll do a video about that here in a little bit. But I feel like I did a much better job of saying, okay, even if things are going well, even if the oral goes well, the check ride's going well, don't let that really let your guard down at all. Be hyper focused about every single word that comes out of your mouth and every action that you do. Another big mistake I made was that I didn't get enough variety in airports and runways when practicing power off 180s. So this is arguably the hardest maneuver of your commercial check ride, or at least it's the one that it's the easiest to screw up, and you only get one shot at it. You basically simulate an engine failure while you're in the pattern, and you have to hit an exact spot on the runway. You can't land any before it. The tolerance is -0, and you're only allowed to go up to 200 feet past it, which sounds like a lot, but that's not a lot at all. I did at least like 20 of these in practice, and I felt pretty confident. But on the day of the check ride, we did it at an airport I hadn't practiced at that had a much wider runway than I was used to. And we were also assigned to fly right traffic in the pattern instead of left traffic like I was used to. So the wider runway causes an illusion that you're too low, even though you aren't. So I ended up coming in fast and high. And although I passed the maneuver, I immediately regretted not practicing on a wider variety of runways and traffic patterns. So make sure you practice this on wide runways, skinny runways, short runways, long runways, and do left pattern and right pattern work, because you never know what you're gonna get the day of the check ride. But probably the biggest mistake I made in my commercial was comparison. I heard from so many people that they said, man, I loved the commercial. The commercial was the easiest one. It's a breeze. Oh, you know, it's ballroom dancing with the airplane. And really, as I went along, I just never felt that way. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, other than like the joy of getting to fly an airplane, I mean, who doesn't love that? But just the process of it, I just never felt very comfortable with it. And so it's one of those feelings where you feel like everyone gets it except for you. Everyone else has confidence and they know what they're doing except for you. And that's just simply not the case. Now, I know I'm sitting here making a video now that I have my commercial, and so maybe it looks easy as I'm just talking about it at the finish line, but I want to be the first to tell you that it wasn't easy. So maybe it was easy for others, but it was not easy for me. So I'm sitting here with my license, but I didn't do videos during the late nights, the early mornings, the confused and frustrated moments, of which there were many, and more. It takes a lot of work, and it's so easy to just look at others on YouTube or others in your community and just see the final product of, hey, they got their license, I guess it was easy for them, and think I'm the only one struggling with this. It's so important to remind yourself that is just not the case. What I have been trying to reflect on is trying not to compare yourself to anyone else, but using other people as motivation to say, hey, they are an example of what's possible. If someone has got their commercial or someone has their CFI, someone made it to the airlines, that means it's possible. It's probably gonna take a lot of work, but it does mean it's possible. But I don't wanna compare myself to that person. I'm not gonna compare my year 1 or my year 0 to their year 50, because that's only gonna make you really discontent. But I think it's healthier to try to compare you versus you. So you today versus you a month ago, or a week ago, or a year ago. And that is gonna give you your trend line for how you are doing. You know, I did a video a while back talking about how I've started and stopped my commercial training several different times. So now I'm here getting to talk about how I do have my commercial. And so holy smokes, that was, there's a huge thunderstorm right now. And that one got me good. I'm not normally very jumpy, but that one did. What I was trying to say was that I did a video a while back talking about just the active struggling of this. And now I'm here saying I have my commercial. So let that trend line be encouraging to you, that if you're in the middle of your training or it's slowed down or it's intimidating, okay, well, you can use me as an example that it is doable. It is difficult. It does take a lot of late nights and early mornings, but it is possible. Now, there was something at the start of my training that I wish someone would have warned me about. And in the video on the screen, I want to tell you exactly what that is and what to do about it so that you're not caught off guard either. So I will see you over in that video.